Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, Uniting Two Worlds. This chapter is entitled I have done my part. Pleased with the construction, he remarked, by Krishna's grace, everything has been done very nicely. The second floor was one continuous wide veranda with many connecting rooms. The person in charge, explained Tamal Krishna, had one room for residence and one for an office. Very comfortable, Prabhupada remarked. He heard and observed everything, occasionally making suggestions. There should be a flower garden and a fountain in the central courtyard. I think there is no other building equal to this in Vrindavan, he said. As they came to the first floor, Akshaya Nanda Maharaj, one of temple managers, pointed out to Prabhupada, I want to keep my office here. That's nice, said Prabhupada, but because we have got a big enough place now, we should not think I shall keep one leg in one place and one leg in another place. And then the whole thing is mismanaged. Don't do that. Don't misuse even 1 inch. You were saying you wanted 500 students, said one of the Gurukul teachers, so we should keep as much space as possible for the students on the floors. Yes, said Prabhupada. This was the point you wanted stressed. But then another devotee remarked, we are going to have administrative offices mixing here, both for the temple and the Gurukul. No, said Prabhupada, you have to invite children here. Otherwise, what is the use of building such a big building? Now that we have 3 dozen managers and 4 students. Although Prabhupada's soft voice was sometimes lost amid the noise of construction, and although his comments were made intermittently while being carried from place to place, his message was strong and clear. Now we have a big facility, he said, so bring students. That is the first principle. We have to get the ISKCON students first, said one of the teachers. ISKCON or FISKCON, said Prabhupada. Bring students. FISKCON. ISKCON or FISKCON? Yeah, that's Prabhupada said. F in front of I. ISKCON or FISKCON, said Prabhupada. Bring students. Prabhupada's wordplay made the devotees laugh, but he was serious. It is a Rakshasa civilization, said Prabhupada, and he began mimicking the cry of typical street vendor. Do rupya, and no knowledge. Krishna says, Tatadi Hantara Prapti, but all they can understand is 2 rupees, 4 rupees. Where they will go in the next life, they do not understand. They do not understand eternal life, only how to enjoy this life. They don't understand one line of the Gita, yet they say, I read Gita. This darkness is going on, and people are kept in darkness in the name of so-called university education. So our Gurukul will be successful. It may take time. Divine Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 15, text number 13. Yat Prinanad Barhishi Deva Tiriyan Yat Prinanad Barhishi Deva Tiriyan Manushya Virut Trinam Avirinchat Manushya Virut Trinam Avirinchat Priyata Sadhya Sa Ha Vishwajiva Shishikodaita Mahapurusha Ki Jai Priyeta Sadhya Saha Vishwajiva Prita Swayam Pritim Agad Gayasya Prita Swayam Pritim Agad Gayasya Yat Prinanad Barhishi Devatiriyan Manushya Virutrinam Avirinchat Priyeta Sadhya Saha Vishwajiva Prita Swayam Pritim Agad Gayasya Yat Prinanad Barhishi Devatiriyan Manushya Virutrinam Avirinchat Priyeta Sadhya Saha Vishwajiva Prita Swayam Pritim Agad Gayasya Yat Prinanad Barhishi Devatiriyan Manushya Virutrinam Avirinchat Priyeta Sadhya Saha Vishwajiva Prita Swayam Pritim Agad Gayasya Yat Prinanad Barhishi Devatiriyan Manushya Virutrinam Avirinchat Priyeta Sadhya Saha Vishwajiva Prita Swayam Pritim Agad Gayasya Yat Prinanad Barhishi Devatiriyan Manushya Virutrinam Avirinchat Priyeta Sadhya Saha Vishwajiva Prita Swayam Pritim Agad Gayasya Mataji. Yat Prinanad Barhishi Devatiriyan Manushya Virutrinam Avirinchat Priyeta Sadhya Saha Vishwajiva Prita Swayam Pritim Agad Gayasya Yat Prinanad Barhishi Devatiriyan Manushya Virutrinam Avirinchat Priyeta Sadhya Saha Vishwajiva Prita Swayam Pritim Agad Gayasya Yat Prinanat because of pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Barhishi in the sacrificial arena. Devatriyak, the demigods and lower animals, Manushya, human society, Virut, the plants and trees, Trinam, the grass, A Virinchat, beginning from Lord Brahma, Priyata, become satisfied, Sadhya, immediately, Saha, that supreme personality of Godhead, Ha, indeed, Vishwa Jiva, maintains the living entities all over the universe, Priyataha, although naturally satisfied, Swayam, personally, Priyatim, satisfaction, Agat, he obtained, Gayasya, of Maharaj Gaya. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. When the Supreme Lord is pleased by a person's actions, automatically all the demigods, human beings, animals, birds, bees, creepers, trees, grass, and all other living entities beginning with Lord Brahma are pleased. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the super soul of everyone, and he is by nature fully pleased. Nonetheless, he came to arena of Maharaj Gaya and said, I am fully pleased. Responsibly pleased. When the Supreme Lord is pleased by a person's actions, automatically all the demigods, human beings, animals, birds, bees, creepers, trees, grass, and all other living entities, beginning with Lord Brahma, are pleased. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the super soul of everyone. And he is by nature fully pleased. Nonetheless, he came to the arena of Maharaj Gaya and said, I am fully pleased. Purport. It is explicitly stated herein that simply by satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one satisfies the demigods and all other living entities without differentiation. If one pours water on the root of the tree, all the branches, twigs, flowers, and leaves are nourished. Although the Supreme Lord is self-satisfied, he was so pleased with the behavior of Maharaj Gaya that he personally came to the sacrificial arena and said, I am fully satisfied. Who can compare to Maharaj Gaya? Om Jnanatimirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayati girim yat kipata Mahamade Shri Gurum Dina. So the translation again. When the Supreme Lord is pleased by a person's actions, automatically all the demigods, human beings, animals, birds, bees, creepers, trees, grass, and all other living entities beginning with Lord Brahma are pleased. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the super soul of everyone, and he is by nature fully pleased. Nonetheless, he came to the arena of Maharaj Gaya and said, I am fully pleased. So this is the nature of love, is to please the object of love. This is what the spiritual world and Goloka Vrindavan is all about, and our original consciousness is that our complete 100% focus is to please Krishna, the all-attractive person. There is no personal motivation, there is no desire, anything in return, eternally, just to please Krishna. But living entity becoming in touch with this material world, it loses that consciousness, but the principle of pleasing still remains. But the focus remains. Focus becomes pleasing our own senses, mind, intelligence, and ego. That becomes the driving force, because the shift, the focus of love, becomes our own selfish pursuits. So we start hankering for pleasing our senses, whatever the case may be, eyes, ears, tongue, sense of smell. We have various types of senses, and we try to please them. They start to demand, I want this food, I want this nice sound vibration, I want to smell beautiful things, and etc. The mind as well is demanding for various types of thrills and accepting, I want this, I don't want that, and the next moment rejecting the very thing that you just wanted and wanting something else, battling from one thing to another. And then intelligence as well is demanding some stimulation, speculation, creating various isms, ideologies, philosophies, rejecting, battling with somebody else. My point is better than yours, etc. And ego, I want to be the best, I want to be at the top, in wherever the case may be, family, village, country, the world. It just expands more and more and more. So the principle of pleasing remains, and despite of the fact that we are trying to please these demands of our eyes, of our senses, mind, etc., we are not being satisfied. Compared this very eternal principle, mentioned in Upanishads and comes up again and again. And Srila Prabhupada as well, he mentions again and again this point, that is like a tree trying to satisfy your senses, mind, intelligence, ego, is like a trying to pour water on flowers of the tree. So maybe it gets refreshed a little bit in a hot day when you pour some water on the drying out flowers. They may start looking a bit sparkling and refreshed. And sometimes people do when they cut flowers. You can put it into the water, you can sprinkle nicely, etc. In a few days, they start rotting and start becoming dried out, black, brown. And the same thing with twigs. As well, people pick up. I don't know whether there is this tree, but in Lithuania, you pick up springtime. This very first thing actually in spring that starts sprouting. It looks like this little cat, kind of, the thing that grows. It has this sense of like a little cat, and it's called in Lithuania a little cat. This tree. So you kind of cut it, and even before it sprouts, people put it into the water, and it starts kind of sprouting a little bit, but for not very long. For a few days it sprouts, and then it's gone because the roots are not there, is not getting the ultimate nourishment. So the ultimate nourishment, this pleasing principle is so important. And then also in relationships as well, people fall in love and find a partner, etc. And there is a certain degree of trying to please, or like a mother's love for the child is very, very. There's a lot of degree of selflessness there, trying to please as much as possible. Those who have children, they know it's like those sleepless nights, etc. Rising, getting up in the middle of the night, and doing something for a kid. I mean, as nowadays, we just spoke about this before, and actually we discussed with some devotees present here how it can become a challenge if the child is unwanted or unplanned. The child is unplanned. You had this big list of the things how you're gonna please your senses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 108. Reasons to please your senses, and the favorite ways how we're gonna do it. And then suddenly and you just got married and you're just excited. I'm gonna go through this list. I just can't wait. Starting from honeymoon or something. I just can't wait, to go through all this. And then suddenly, one person becomes pregnant, and this third person comes into the family, and it can be a real challenge to your desire to please your senses. I just had this big list of things I wanted to do, and I have to serve this little entity who is completely helpless. It can be like a big challenge and almost like a disturbance, anger, frustration, because your plan to enjoy your senses has been frustrated. So you can see how much trouble it causes when we are so selfish. It's all about me and about I am addicted to gratifying my senses. And if somebody else interferes with it, we become very unhappy, disturbed, or even if we develop a certain selflessness. There's a many now, like various ways how to help others. But if our focus of that help, we kind of restrain, okay, I won't gratify my senses, but I will gratify the senses of other people. Try to please, other people. I'm kind of reducing my own gratification of my eyes, ears, etc. But then, okay, I'm gonna try to gratify other people's senses. But it's the same principle, just in the same way, just like you couldn't satisfy your senses, you were struggling. And that is the nature of the senses. They cannot be satisfied no matter how much you feed them. They want more and more and more, but they may get pacified for a little while and then again. Just like we had a big feast yesterday. But of course, I don't want to use, because prasadam is a different thing altogether. But let's say it's just you had like a big meal, but in a few hours, maybe 6, 7 hours, you're getting hungry again. Yeah, so that functions with all different senses. You're trying to satisfy them, gratify them, but the demands, they still keep demanding. And this, yes, it kind of disturbs your peace when your focus in life is all about senses. It's actually disturbance. It's always some mind is demanding this and that and a third thing. So it's difficult to be satisfied when that is your focus. as all those demands are just pulling in different directions. So we need to shift the focus. Oh yeah, so just to mention about gratifying other senses. So that also you don't have to, you can't satisfy your senses. So somehow or another, if you become a bit more in a mode of goodness, you're trying to satisfy other people's senses. But that's again, if anybody try to satisfy, like a very selfish person. I don't know if you had that ever experience. Uh, that's very, very challenging. Sometimes it just becomes like a give, 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 and take, take, take. It seems like it's never satisfied, or even having children. I guess, it's like you keep giving them Christmas gifts and you buy this and that and a third thing, and they want more and more and more. I mean, not necessarily in every case, but it's quite, or another kid in the school got this, and they come back, where is mine? Why I don't have this? And, this the never ending. Or you can see people in the Christmas time, the person has been working so hard, whether it's a lady or a man, they're working so hard to get, some money for Christmas to satisfy so many expectations and desires and etc. Sometimes people just get completely fed up of trying to find something and say, "Here is the money," and go, buy anything you like, and they come back with all those things, and then January kicks in, and you think, okay, maybe we'll be satisfied for a little while. No, January kicks in and says, okay, where is it? I need this another thing. Anybody had that experience now? Yes, just another and another thing, and then you don't get what you want. You're so frustrating. The relationship struggles. You don't love me. I didn't get what I want. My sense has been demanding. You don't love me. I hate you. And like, your heart is broken. Become the life of sense gratification. Somebody's desire is not fulfilled. I hate you. You didn't give me what I wanted. My God, this is a material existence. It's such a life of frustration, actually, with the sense gratification. So your senses are not satisfied, and you're trying to please other. I mean, when you're on your own, you're just trying to please your senses. But then you get married and have children, then you have like a four people senses to gratify. But it's good, of course. It shifts us from this mood, I just all about my senses. And this is what is existence is all about, is actually to frustrate our desire for gratification of senses and shift back to our original consciousness of service. That is what the marriage life is for, that the spiritual life is for, is to shift from this is all about me. I am the center of the world. Everybody around me should please my senses, and gratify my senses, and all the money is to gratify my senses. And I get married or whatever, find a partner because that partner will gratify my senses. And if that is successful, I'm very happy. But as soon as that is failing, then goodbye. I gonna go to find somebody else. This is not a suitable match. So it just cannot be successful. This philosophy is just by foundation of it. It is gonna it's gonna fall apart in due course of time, and it does fall apart. And this society that we created based on hedonism is the best proof of it. Family unit is completely destroyed. Divorces are like 70% or something in this part of the world, and or 60 or something like that, and and so many other problems. That is just a life of a hedonism of gratifying your senses. Is so clear. You have to be foolish to not to see that is not working. You need to open eyes and see this hedonism life of focusing your life on pleasing your senses is not working, and it will never work because senses cannot be satisfied by nature. The soul is looking for transcendental happiness and is trying to find in a dead matter. The senses are dead matter. If you try to find pleasure in things that is dead matter, you won't find it. Give you some relief, give you some temporarily relaxation. So we need our original consciousness is to serve, but not just somebody's just serving somebody's senses, but and not just somebody's mind and intelligence and ego, but serving Krishna, the Supreme Lord. We are spiritual. Krishna is the transcendental living entity, the source of everything. We are transcendental. So we need to transcendental happiness and transcendental pleasure. There's no greater pleasure, even to serve other people's senses. People find it more satisfying than to please theirs. Of course, there is so many selfish people, and they haven't even tried it. Actually, a lot of other people haven't tried it. Or if you're extremely selfish, it's like, you're so hellish to try to please somebody else as well. You're going to job to please the boss, to please, whatever you mentioned in a family, the kid, it's such a headache. But as people, and it's interesting actually to see how the shift happens even on material level. The child is born unplanned, it disturbed all your plans. You're going through so much frustration and anger and upset. But slowly, you just you can't just now. You got in trouble, unless you're like a really kind of cruel, selfish person that you just got, send the kid, to a children home or whatever, call it, and if you're lucky, the child wasn't aborted, and you reach the light of the sun, and you haven't given it away, then slowly but surely, as you continue serving the kid, there's a bit of a shift. They start enjoying, the father, the mother, the satisfaction starts coming in of service actually, and a lot of then parents would say actually that was very nice experience despite of the fact that they could barely sleep for first few months, etc. So there is Shishikodanitaya Mayapur Shiki, that shift to service. Then one starts to experience some satisfaction. Of course, not in all cases, because material existence means there's so much selfishness there. So as soon as kids are like a grow up, you just feel this unbelievable relief to do what you like again. Dive deep back into the ocean of sense gratification that haven't satisfied you in the first place for many years. So shifting to service, even in material sense, it's very powerful. You can see the happiest people materially who actually are able somehow or another to give up their selfishness and serve others. But even they are not fully satisfied. Something is missing unless they come to the point of serving God, serving Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Samsiddhi Hari Toshinam. The ultimate goal of life is to come to the point that everything what we do is for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. That is the spiritual world. That is the greatest, powerful, transcendental atmosphere. And that is the nature of spiritual world. So there is this prayer in the in Christianity that just like in a heaven on a earth. So that means that if you awaken your transcendental desire to serve and please the Lord, that becomes spiritual world. That is non-different from the spiritual world. So this is our aspiration. This is the aspiration of the soul, how to awaken again this desire to please and create, that will create a spiritual world atmosphere, pleasing the Lord and pleasing the Lord's representatives, devotees, because the Lord has established this transcendental system that by pleasing a devotee, the Lord is also pleased and satisfied. And in fact, we cannot really invent the way what is pleasing to the Lord. And that's also another trap. You can think, okay, I just gonna now, I decided and understand now that there must be more to life than just pleasing the senses. So I'm just gonna buy Ferrari for Krishna. And I put the bhajan, put a bhajan on the way to the job. And I chant Hare Krishna, singing Hare Krishna. And I'll scream on the people who are getting in my way. Govinda, Yadava, get out of my way. I'm not swearing anymore. I just say Krishna Chaitanya instead of swearing. Oh, Krishna Chaitanya, get out of my way. It's amazing how it works, isn't it? Like you can see even in devotees, these gentle souls, they never swear, barely swear unless they're driving. Get out of my way. Where do you think you're going? You this and this and third one. I mean, they say Krishna Chaitanya, that's good. It can be something else. This identification, false identification becomes so prominent when we're driving the car, even if it's just like a simple little car. Somebody gets on our way, we just try to chase them away. So that's the nature of this world, that we cannot satisfy our senses. We need to focus on pleasing Krishna, and we will find out how to please Krishna from the scripture, from holy people, from devotees, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. We can find out. And there is, of course, transition period. We won't be able maybe to jump into the selfless, thing. As we spoke about, maybe you will go through the stage that you're gonna buy things, and that is called karma yoga. You still do what you like, but you offer it to Krishna first. So that is beginning of love. Okay, I'm gonna enjoy this, but for myself, this car, but I also gonna drive to the temple on Sunday. So this is a mixed devotion, devotion mixed with karma, with a desire to enjoy. And there will be this period, for a lot of people, that we're making a transition and still get everything what they want, but now I offer it to Krishna as well. So that is good. That is improvement. These four types of people come to Krishna consciousness. Somebody wants to enjoy, and somebody wants some relief from misery. Somebody is inquisitive. But the best is one who is looking for absolute truth. You need to come to this point and establish this as a goal from very beginning. Okay, I'm still conditioned. I have these various types of desires, but engage in devotional service and try to actually rise to the higher platform. And of course, it is also our expertise has to be there, that to find this level for other person, to motivate them to take up a spiritual life. Maybe they are like very, very driven by that gratification. But in Krishna consciousness, there is so many wonderful things as well to experience a higher taste. Like yesterday's feast was just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And there is beautiful singing and chanting and it can be as well. You can create an environment of very, very beautiful relationships and friendships, and devotees are able to offer this more than anybody else because they're shifting from that self-centered is all about me, is all about my senses. It's very difficult to function and build relationships in those situations that is all about me and my gratification, and if I don't get what I want, that you become my enemy. So it's hard. It's hard in that environment to build good relationships. But if there is selflessness, when purity enters the heart, you're not so. Your happiness becomes to serve others. And then the relationships go deeper, can flourish more, like that. So that kind of environment is very, very nourishing, very attractive to be around, to be live. When people are aiming for that. But the most powerful thing is actually when there is an environment of like very, very strong focus, conscious focus to please Krishna. And you can see when Krishna is pleased, everything becomes pleased. If we develop that kind of focus, and it's sometimes we have to even perform an experiment because the senses are pulling and etc. It's not so easy to make that transition, but it's we're making the transition from just karma yoga. I'm doing this for myself, and then slowly, as you progress with your chanting and hearing, especially if a pleasing thing for Krishna is hearing and chanting that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unconquerable, the most beautiful, wonderful person, becomes conquered simply by your giving a submissive oral reception. Simply by hearing Krishna, the all attractive Lord becomes attracted to you, and puts your name in his book of people to favor with the blessings. Uh, so that's very, very powerful. That's very pleasing to the Lord and His devotees. And these pure devotees, they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about Krishna. There's no greatest happiness for devotee. So in that environment, it's very, very attractive and very, very pleasing. And when the Lord is pleased and satisfied, so many beautiful things can happen. Sometimes you may be endeavor and hankering for so many things, even in Krishna consciousness, but kind of Krishna is there in a corner. I'm working for Krishna, but he is over there. When I'm chanting my rounds, my mind is somewhere else. When I'm doing service, my mind is somewhere else. When I'm doing interaction with devotees, my mind is somewhere else. So Krishna is somewhere there, connected. There's a little connection somewhere, at least at the end of the day after I done everything, I think, okay, it was a good day of service. but Krishna was present in that day, and that's another question. But when actually Krishna becomes prominent in our life through very powerful hearing and chanting, very focused, chanting the holy name with great focus and attention, with serving with great focus and attention, with trying to understand the Shastra, we're trying to please the devotee with our focus, the effort that we're doing as an offering to Krishna. We understand that by pleasing devotee, Krishna will be happy. Then there is very magical things can happen, and it's up to Krishna, of course. It may happen, it may not happen, but we will see that when they do happen, when it doesn't happen, it's Krishna's mercy, and when they do happen, it's Krishna's mercy. But when they do happen, we can see the result can be far beyond our expectation, because Krishna is powerful. He is in control of everything. So therefore, everything can become pleased. Let's read in this verse. There's so many wonderful things becomes pleased, and demigods and human beings and animals, birds, bees, creepers, grass. And we can see this bumblebee is hanging around for a few days now. I don't know if it's a bumblebee or a wasp, but is just enjoying some prasadam, some flowers, and it looks very ecstatic. Actually, anybody noticed this bee flying around and enjoying flowers, going from one bee to bee? It looks very satisfied. Looks very, very satisfied because they come into relationship with the Lord. The other day, it landed on the eye of Lord Chaitanya. I was thinking, it must be really inconvenience for Lord Chaitanya to have this bee, but you can see that it was actually satisfied in the course of time, become very, very transcendental bee. So when the Lord is satisfied, everything is satisfied. And the Lord, and this is our effort and focus, how I can please the Lord. And the Lord will come to you when He is satisfied. He will come to you and He will tell you, I am very pleased. I mean, of course, personally coming and telling you maybe not happen in very, very advanced stages, but you will feel it will come to you in some other ways. You may come as a devotee and say, this was wonderful, what you did, the service, it was very, very nice, you did really well, and you feel that satisfaction that doesn't come from any sense gratification. When the devotee is pleased and the Lord is pleased, that satisfaction, nothing can match it. And that's because the Lord is Rasaraj. By offering our love to Him instead of offering love to our senses, when Lord is satisfied and all our senses is satisfied on a highest level. And in fact, there is no greater happiness. And in fact, the devotees on a pure devotional platform, their greatest happiness is to see the Lord happy, even if their senses are feeling misery to serve the Lord. You may be serving the Lord like we had this preparation for Festival of Colors. It was a bit of a struggle. It was, lack of sleep. Some devotees went through. The mind is giving trouble, etc. There is so many things to do in the never-ending list, and etc. to go through, the limitations of time, and that pressure to get it done on time, and etc. But then after it's all done, you feel this great satisfaction, and the Lord appears in the holy name. You will feel after you did a very nice little service, please the Lord. That name will be dancing on your tongue. When you're taking prasadam, this gulab jamun is gonna melt on your tongue, and the Lord will appear in so many other ways in realization as well. Is such a wonderful gift. Like when your mind is just all absorbed, just all about gratifying your senses, but your realization starts to you start to feel this higher satisfaction. Your realization starts kicking in and tapping on your shoulder that actually this is the way to go in life. I just want to please the Lord. There is nothing better than this. So that's a great gift, the gift of realization that Krishna awards us, and appear in so many other ways. In the smile, you look at in a Prabhupada's picture, Prabhupada will smile at you and you feel great satisfaction. Or look at Prabhupada's murti, or you look at the Lord Nityananda's face and he is smiling, or Vrinda Devi, or Shrimati's Radharani's picture. It's a little smile, and you can feel this great satisfaction in the heart that you are going in the right direction in life. So are there any questions or comments? Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you very much for the last class. Prabhupada uses this example quite a lot of walking the root of the tree. And in one purport in the first canto, first chapter, verse 4, Srila Prabhupada says that those branches and leaves of the tree which are detached cannot be satisfied. Detached branches and leaves dry up gradually, despite all watering attempts. Similarly, human society, when it is detached from the personality of Godhead, like detached branches and leaves, is not capable of being watered. and one attempting to do so is simply wasting his energy and resources. Um, so, um, if we're meditating on the suffering of others, and by reading Srila Prabhupada's books and hearing from devotees, we're understanding that the only way we can help others is by pleasing Krishna. But then at the same time, if we hear that that it's a futile attempt if those persons we're trying to help are detached from the tree. So, does this mean that we have to practice like complete detachment from like worrying about the well-being of others, or or do we, is it, because that for many people that's the initial impetus to approach Krishna, is to actually be concerned about others' welfare.
Is in distress.
Sorry?
Is it in distress?
Which amount of the four is concerned about for
Distress of others.
That's distress. It's like, it may not just be distress about oneself, but it's like extended distress, isn't it? Like extended selfishness or extended distress.
Remind me of your question again. Sorry, I lost the track a little bit.
Well, for example, like the kings, they're concerned about the citizens. That's why they're performing big sacrifices, really, because they're performing them on behalf of all of the citizens, and they understand that rather than trying to just build the infrastructure and give charity to all of the citizens, the best way to benefit all the citizens is to offer sacrifices to the Supreme Lord. But in those times, the citizens were kind of connected to, they had some connection with Krishna, through, because of the Varnashram society, they were connected, and therefore they were being rewarded by it. But now, Srila Prabhupada says, now the majority of human society is detached from. Srila Prabhupada gives the answer later on. He says that, by the chanting of the holy names, people will become purified and they'll become connected again.
Yes, so yeah, I got to the question now.
Like what to do with the people who seem to be detached. And it is Madhyama Dikari, it discriminates, or she, and those who are interested, just leave them in peace. And Vaisheshika Prabhu as well as compares it, outreach to the picking up mangoes. If the mango is ripe, pick it up. He says, but if it's not ripe, just leave it. If it's not ripe, just leave the mango, let it ripen. However, we can create some sort of incubation programs to ripen the mangoes, and that's also possible. There is a various types of things to ripen somebody. So the various devotees across the world, you can see they create incubation programs for completely unwilling people. They become interested because they found some interest that they are interested and connected to Krishna consciousness, and within that environment, a mango becomes ripe. The green mango becomes ripe. But some situations are quite hopeless. But of course, as you mentioned about the holy name and solution that Prabhupada mentioned, there is nothing more powerful. Even if you do incubation system, you have to be ripe. If you green yourself, it's just not gonna work. You won't be able to ripe anyone if you are green. Of course, you may connect another green person to somebody who is ripe, but in any situation, there has to be ripeness. So there is nothing more powerful than creating to become ripe. The more people in the community is ripe and Vrindavan atmosphere is there, then, and there is this selfless desire to please Krishna, the more people are on the same program. And it's not just gonna come through the service, it will come from the hearing and chanting. Service is just a 50% of the effort. If you only but you're doing 50% of the effort and we are not deeply studying Prabhupada's books and trying to apply in our life, we can't even be called a proper follower. Shivaram, His Holiness Shivaram Swami says, he puts into apostrophe so-called follower of Prabhupada who is working day and night but is not studying his teachings. He puts in apostrophes follower. A real follower of Prabhupada means one who is studying his teachings and serving, not just one of those, not just studying all day and not serving, or not just serving and not reading. And that's what it means, follower, and that what it means to please. And that's what's gonna empower and purify the heart. If we are not doing just here and there of pleasing a pure devotee, but we understand what is the most important things that this person wanted to do. By pleasing that, then Lord is pleased, and we become purified and ripe. And when we are ripe, in that environment, many other people will catch the fire. Just like Russell Brand came into Bhaktivedanta Manor one day looking for some solutions of struggles in his life. And he saw Raghunatha Swami. And he said, I don't know what this man has got, but I want it. So it will be attractive. When the mango is ripe, it's very, very attractive. So this is really is how to ripen our like very, very clear understanding of what is going to ripen me and do those things. And of course, at the same time, we are. It is part of our sadhana to help others, but it's just to be preparing and ripening ourselves for a point when we are fully ripe, and then our efforts will be truly effective. In the meantime, we're just trying our best, and we're trying to connect people to person who is already ripe, our spiritual master. You can't expect that we just by our own efforts we're gonna inspire anybody, because bhakti comes from bhakti. So in the meantime, while we don't have a pure devotion, what we're trying to do with people is to connect them with those who have pure devotion. This is all our effort. We shouldn't think, oh, I'm just gonna inspire somebody and they're gonna just become enlivened. And if they do, that means we were successful in connecting them. Or we are connected so much that despite of being still green, because of that connection, Krishna can bridge the gap and empower us to act in the ripe ways. So I have to stop here. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki